Welcome everyone to another edition of Let's Talk Jonesboro. Today we have with us Sherece West from the Winthrop Rockefeller Foundation in Little Rock. Welcome, Sherece.
Thank you for having me.
Can you tell us a little bit about what you do and what the foundation does?
Absolutely. So I'm the president and CEO of the Winthrop Rockefeller Foundation. I have been for now 10 and a half years. I started in June 2007. So, and in that time, well, the foundation is the largest foundation that does grant making just in the state of Arkansas. And we do that in several areas for economic development, education, and race and social justice. We have a moving the needle strategic plan that we've been working from for the past 10 years. And we've done some excellent work here in Arkansas with that initiative, of which Jonesboro has been a part of our Moving the Needle initiative.
And it has, with the North Jonesboro initiative.
So we have the North Jonesboro Neighborhood Initiative that we've been supporting, the Hispanic Center, and City Youth Ministries. And I would say over probably about an 8 to 7 year period, we've invested about $300,000 in Jonesboro.
What makes you decide to, I'm sure you have, I know that the Rockefeller Foundation is a premier foundation with
Yes,
a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
But
well, I don't know about the lot of money part, but we are the premier foundation.
All right, we'll keep it that way. I like that. I like the way you said that. But you look for people who are going to make the most of the money that you give, I would assume, that because you want to ensure that it goes to a good cause and that cause is producing. What about the initiatives in Jonesboro has impressed you?
So we don't necessarily give to good causes.
Okay.
The Winthrop Rockefeller Foundation, we do our grant making through what we call transformational. So there's a difference between being transformational and transactional. Transactional is when you just get a check. You know, you submit a proposal and we just write you a check, or foundation writes you a check and you go on. With transformational, we actually want to see change happen in Arkansas. And we want to see change happen in communities in Arkansas. And we're invested in several communities, and Jonesboro is a part of that. And so the investments that we have here is about you all's change process, the vision that the mayor has for Jonesboro, and Dr. Owens and Rennell Woods and Gina Gomez, you know, on and on.
Right.
I don't want to list everybody. Emma, you know, all those players. So when I came to a site visit, I think it was around 2008 or so, Rennell Woods was the one who invited me to Jonesboro. We were a part of Leadership Arkansas. And he said, you got to come, Doc, you got to come. You know, we're doing some great things here. And so what we invest in, and what was most important to us, was that you guys had a vision for where you wanted Jonesboro to be.
Right.
You'd be surprised at how many folk don't have a vision for where they want their place to be.
Unfortunately, I believe that, yes.
So you guys had a vision. Not only did you have a vision, you actually had folk who were organized to make that vision happen. And again, you'd be surprised that you might have a vision, but you don't have a group or a coalition or collaboration of folk who are working towards a vision.
Right.
And in the North Jonesboro Neighborhood Initiative specifically, it was grassroots residents who wanted to see change happen there. And when at the time that we began investing there, you know, the mayor was like, wow, there's a lot that I need to do in that neighborhood. Would you guys mind starting here? Right. And we said, absolutely. And he was able to use those dollars that we gave to the North Jonesboro Neighborhood Initiative to leverage dollars from HUD and other agencies. So that one investment has actually, you know, quadrupled almost since making it. So we don't invest in causes, but we invest in systems change and transformational change and in residents and communities. So the thing we say at the foundation is when you get a grant from the foundation, that's great. It's good news and bad news. The good news is you get a grant from the foundation. The bad news is you get a grant from the foundation because you not just get the money, but you get technical assistance. So we've had some TA providers that have worked here, Garland Yates, Takima Robinson. We have done convenings here. We actually had our board meeting in the conference room here in the building. So our board has been here and visited our investments here in Jonesboro. You also get convenings. So we've bought, folks from Jonesboro have been able to meet with their counterparts in other parts of the state and just learn from one another.
Right.
So, and we're here today doing a site visit to learn more and see if there's more opportunity for investment here in Jonesboro.
Well, that's wonderful. And I know that Mayor Perrin talks incessantly on how the fact that our sales tax revenue will never be enough to take care of all our needs. And so it's the partnerships with guys like you that help make Jonesboro a nice place to live and help those in need the most.
Absolutely.
What have you seen? You feel confident that Jonesboro is a good partner?
Jonesboro has been a fabulous partner. Absolutely. Again, our investments here have, as I mentioned, quadrupled. So again, you not only just got the money, but you even were able to leverage it. Additionally, some of the technical assistance consultants that we've provided to the community has paid off and built leadership and infrastructure. We just came from the Hispanic Center, and I remember its humble beginnings,
Yes,
at
me
its
too.
old address. And through TA support and other things, they were talking with how our support to them just helped them to be able to even have a strategic plan in which they were able to implement that got them to where they are right now.
Right.
And then I just heard today that you guys are considering a leadership academy, bringing together the neighborhoods, the 10 or so, 12 or so communities that you have, and doing an academy to build the capacity and the leadership there. And that is a brilliant idea and something we may possibly be interested in, mainly because we know that for communities to change, we need leaders who are from those communities, who have the agency, who are empowered to work with the city to talk about how resources can come into their respective communities to make the changes that they want to see happen. And the mere fact that you're working with community leaders to do that, in addition to the city and bringing in trainers and the like to do that, that is quite appealing to us.
That's good because, and this is an anecdotal experience, but I have lived in a few cities similar to the size of Jonesboro, and there always seems to be these days a leadership void. And Jonesboro is growing at a pretty quick rate. And if you're developing leaders, we've got, I think this idea comes from both Mayor Perrin and our development coordinator.
Excellent.
Yeah, Tiffany Calloway, and they're both very excited and devoted to the project. So hopefully they will be able to show you some things. But what signs of progress should people look for? I mean, describe how the things that you guys do, the things that cities do, plays out. And if you can talk about some changes you've seen, maybe even in Jonesboro.
So we are working with Independence County as an example. And they are probably a few years ahead of where you guys are, but they started out with bringing together community leaders. And those community leaders saying, what do we want to see happen here? And they do jobs, education. It's pretty comprehensive. Jobs, education, healthcare, recreation, youth. And there may be a few other categories. So it's about 5 or 6 categories that they're working in. And then they have working groups. And those working groups then work on these various areas. And they have been able to do things such as they recognized in their education that that there is industries that are coming to Independence County and those that exist for which they don't have people trained for.
Got you.
So they've done concurrent enrollment in their high school, starting in about junior high and high school, with their colleges, not just the community college, but even the 4-year. So Lyons is involved and several others. And those kids are taking college courses. And from those college courses, by the time they graduate, they're about 9, 10, they're several credits in towards their degree. And they have been doing it now for several years, that they now have those young people placed in jobs. And so it was because the community came together and say, wait, why isn't this connected to this and connected to this and connected to that? They also realized that they needed English. I mean, English actually, because they have a immigrant community that's coming in.
Correct.
But they recognized that they needed scientists and like chemistry. I forgot what the disciplines were, but it was more in the STEM. More in the STEM areas. And so they did recruitment and recognized that they may have to pay these folk more, like to incentivize them to come. And they worked together to get the dollars to incentivize teachers to come to that area. Again, it was about what resources do we have here in the community and how do we use them differently, get creative. They've been able to get waivers. They've been able to talk to the state about additional funding. I mean, they just work it to make it happen. I would love to see something similar like that happen here in Jonesboro.
Yes, I
where
think
we
would
bring
too.
these communities together, and maybe there's a way we can even do an exchange program between what they're doing in Independence County and Jonesboro, and we'd be happy to do a field trip or site visit so that you guys can see what's happening there. But if we can do something similar to that here in Jonesboro, what it was, the difference I saw in Independence County that I have not seen in other parts of the Delta is that they never took no as an answer. If the answer was no, they were like, give me a minute. Well, what can we do? Like, let's get the legal. Like, who can do what? Like, what are the resources? Okay. And then they went back again. If the answer was no again, they were like, okay, let's work it out. And I mean, so they never gave up. And so the things that they were able to get waivers around or special, and it's all legal, allowances for, and, regulations rethought. And they really worked to make sure that the dollars they had, because they knew that there wasn't going to be a whole lot more dollars, they worked to make the dollars that they had work better for their community. And here in Jonesboro, that's pretty much the advice or what I would like to see happen over time, is that this group comes together, and of course, they build their core capacity to be leaders and organizers in their communities, but that they actually know the budget.
Right.
And that they actually know where dollars are coming in, whether it's federal dollars, state dollars, local dollars, tax dollars, and taxes local, but what monies are coming into the community, and not bicker and argue over you got more and I got less and you should, take that off the table.
Yes.
But it's about how do we make Jonesboro the best place for the children and families who live here, so that you can attract talent here. And ensure that those who, I remember when I first started coming, you guys were telling me about, I don't know if it was a steel plant or one of the plants where people were coming in from other places to work there because the talent wasn't here in Jonesboro. So one measure of success would be that no one is coming in to work here, that talent is right here in Jonesboro. Right. And people are thriving and working and making Jonesboro a great place to be.
Our industrial park is growing by leaps and bounds, and we are recruiting the STEM educated people, and we have a DO school now that is creating doctors for the Delta.
Excellent.
And hopefully for the region. I think to me the gap that we see is the one that we keep hearing about, the gap between rich and poor.
Oh, rich and poor.
And I wondered if what is the greatest pressure, or what do you see that young people coming out of school who may not be advantaged to have a career and hold on to it? Because we know technology changes careers so fast. It's rare that anyone gets to stay in one field for their entire life or their entire working life. Yeah.
So I don't have all the answers. So let me just be clear. I don't know I don't know the answer to that.
Okay.
What I can say is, in Blytheville, for example, we funded a community participatory study where the adults in Blytheville asked the same question you did. Why are young people languishing? And they may not have said languishing, but why aren't they either pursuing a career or in school to pursue a career. They actually went out and talked to those young people. And they trained young people to do the surveys with the iPads and the like, so that the data goes into a central database. And young people interviewed young people. And what they came back with was that the jobs, one, they felt that no one cared about them in Blytheville, which was surprising to the adults. They felt like no one was really paying attention to them and their needs. And these were their responses. And, it hit them, but they said, okay. The other was that there weren't jobs that they really wanted to pursue in that community. And, and so that was data that was like, oh my gosh. So one of the ways I would say could be a place to start answering that question is actually talk to those young people. And really hear them without judgment.
Right.
Actually really hear them. And that data could probably drive what needs to happen in Jonesboro to meet their needs.
Very nice.
So that's one place I would suggest or say that could be a start.
Well, I know you've been in this job for a decade or so, and you have been in Arkansas a good while, so you are an Arkansan, but you have...
Thank you.
Yeah. And probably a few others, because your resume is impressive, and you've lived in and worked in several parts of the country. What type of things, and I know that you picked up the best that you see from different places. What type of things would you like Arkansas to do better? What would you like to see more out of our communities and our state?
So one thing that I say is a challenge in grant making here is we need to expect more. And we have an initiative that's called just that, Expect More Arkansas. And what do I mean by that? I do not ever want to hear another Arkansan say, thank God for Mississippi.
Right.
And, you hear that, and Arkansas is the land of opportunity, and that's actually a quote from Governor Rockefeller. And Governor Rockefeller has always said his vision was for a thriving, prosperous Arkansas. And what we do at the foundation is try to make that vision real. And he says there's no place for poverty in Arkansas. That is a direct quote, and that is the passion from which our team works from. And so if we can just know that we can and deserve to expect more and not have an inferiority complex, but know that things are great here in Arkansas, they can change, and we can make that change happen. And you guys have even shown that with the progress you've made here in the city in the time I've been coming back and forth here. I see new construction, new townhouses. There's a plan for Kate Avenue.
There is.
Again, the dollars that you guys have been able to leverage from us, from HUD, that was done in North Jonesboro. I mean, progress is being made, and that's progress that you guys should be proud of. And you have newcomers who are coming here from all around the world. Yes. Because it's an attractive place to be. So you are one of the few cities in the Delta that's not dying, just simply because you've opened your doors to newcomers, and you've been welcoming to those newcomers. And that's smart.
There's no question.
And so, so making sure that, Jonesboro pride, I don't know, maybe we can come up with a slogan or or a way to catchphrase it.
Actually, Tiffany Calloway has come up with a slogan, and it's called "We Are One Jonesboro."
I love it.
And it's going to catch on.
It's going to catch on. I need my button. Where's my button? I need my T-shirt.
We're going
to and make people pay for that T-shirt. $5 a shirt, you can make money off of it.
That's right.
But that's the main thing is just to be proud and be proud of Jonesboro and all that you have accomplished here. And not to be Oprah-like, although I'm an Oprah fan, but what you speak is what you become. So if you continue to speak from a deficit point of view, you're going to keep having deficits. But if you start speaking from your asset point of view, you will see and envision and make that vision happen of assets. So for me, that is the biggest thing is, people are so brokenhearted in so many places that we visit. And it's tough to do grant making there. And what attracts us to do grant making here is because you guys have hope, you have a vision, and you're excited about the possibilities that can happen here. So I know you asked me for several, but that would be the main thing. In my years of grant making, both at the Annie Casey Foundation in Louisiana and here, where there is hope and a spark of vision and excitement for change, then that's where you can actually get people to invest.
Can you tell us about some of these specific initiatives you have going on at the Rockefeller Foundation?
Absolutely. So I talked a bit earlier about the Expect More campaign.
Yes.
Expect More is, so we did research here. We were asked by the state chamber, there's this skills mismatch that people talk about. There are plenty of jobs in Arkansas. The head of the state chamber would tell you, and maybe even your chamber may say, you know what, right now I have about 300 jobs, but what I don't have is the skill sets to match those jobs. And so we went about figuring out what that was about. What we found, though, in this study was that 70% of the jobs in Arkansas only require a high school diploma or less, and they don't pay livable wage jobs.
Correct.
And 30% do. And we want to flip that so that in Arkansas, 70% of those jobs require a certification or higher, and that they pay a livable wage. And so even for Jonesboro, we're actually having some conversations later on today about just that. You know, how do we work with, or what are you guys doing that is about matching jobs and opportunities to residents here? And what are creative, innovative ways in which you guys are thinking about that? So that's Expect More. And we're working on Expect More throughout the state. Another initiative is the Arkansas Campaign for Grade Level Reading. Our goal for the state is that 100% of kids read on grade level by the end of third grade. And as you know, if you can't read, then you are challenged with the rest of your career in school.
Correct. You're very limited.
Very limited. And that's a challenge for some of our adults. We found, again, through data, that 7 out of 10 students aren't reading on grade level. So if you
7 out of 10?
So if you had a classroom, or if you had 10 fourth graders or less right here, right now, only 3 of them would know how to read.
My goodness.
Or read at grade level, I should
Correct.
say. Maybe they all know how to read, but read at grade level.
Right.
And that data is, whether you use NAEP data, whether you use Arkansas reading scores and the like, it still comes up the same. And meanwhile, I just told you that Expect More said that 70% of our jobs only require a high school diploma or less. Now, while we can't do a correlation because we don't have that kind of money to do longitudinal studies like that, it's probably not too far off to see that there may be some relationship in that data.
Right.
And so for us, it's about making sure 100%, that's the least we can do in our education system, is to ensure that our kids are able to read on grade level.
Yeah.
And so we've been funding and supporting some work there, and we have made great strides here in Arkansas. And then the Forward initiative. Forward is our partnership with the Walton Family Foundation, the State Department of Education, and the Board of Education, where we want to make sure that from K through 12, all Arkansas students graduate ready for career or college. And that's a newer initiative. It's a little less than 2 years old. And we have goals and the like that we're working with from there. But basically, we cast a vision for education for Arkansas that the state has adopted. And we are going to make sure that that vision happens. And again, we would love to talk with you guys further about grade level reading, about your K through 12, and how we can support or work with you all in ensuring that Forward Arkansas happens here, and that the schools are working for the K through 12 system here, and absolutely Expect More.
Thank you so
All
much.
right. Appreciate it.
I appreciate it.